All right, guys, in today's video, we're working on a 2022 Audi SQ5, and we're going to be doing an oil change. So you saw the oil change due popped up over here, and you see oil level OK. I'm going to show you a closer view of oil level OK before we go under the hood. This model with the 3-liter engine does not have a mechanical dipstick. So you got to come over here on top of the dash area to this multimedia interface, the MMI, and we're going to go take a look at the electronic oil level indicator. So you want to think about this as the same as the end of a mechanical dipstick. So min and max, just like on the end of a piece of metal, this is sitting right about in the middle. You don't want to get too close to the max. You don't want to be below the minimum. Right now, this is okay. The other thing you want to familiarize yourself with on the MMI is when we come back after doing this procedure, we're going to want to go into the service interval and reset that it's due for an oil change. Let's go ahead and go under the hood now. All right, under the hood here and a little bit forward towards the passenger side, there's going to be a sticker like this. And this sticker is going to tell you the viscosity of the oil that this particular Audi engine takes, as well as the certification from Volkswagen Group that that oil should meet. So let me tell you a little bit about my opinion on what you do here. When you're under warranty, my recommendation to you is to use the factory oil. You notice this is the correct viscosity and it meets the specification on the sticker. This particular oil here for Volkswagen and Audi is going to be a part number GC60 1Q DSP. And again, VW508.00. When you're out of warranty, so this is a 2022, so it's still in warranty. This is what we're going to be using today. When you're out of warranty, I'd recommend something like this Mobil 1 ESP. So what you see with this is same viscosity. This is a European car formula. And if we look on the back, we can see it also meets, if we zoom in a little bit to read this, it also meets VW508.00. So there are some other oils that meet these two requirements. This is just what I would recommend you to use during warranty and after warranty by going with Mobil 1 or some other non-branded oil, non-OEM branded oil. You'll save anywhere from $1.40 to around $1.80 a quart. Now, to get started, the first thing we're going to need to do is remove this engine cover. On this model, you're going to need to take off the oil filler cap, which is this guy here, and then there's going to be 4 rubber bushings on each corner held on to some metal ball studs. Just grab the front evenly on both sides and the back evenly on both sides. And that's going to remove it. And then what you see here, these are your 4 rubber bushings. And then these are the ball studs that they fit into. Here, 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 and here. These unscrew if you have to remove the heat shield. This is going to reveal the oil filter housing, which is right here. To get the oil filter housing off, you're going to need a 32 millimeter low profile hex socket intended for this purpose. I'm going to be using a Lyle model. I'll put a link to what I'm using in the video description. This is all we wanted to do first, though, because the next step is we're going to be getting the vehicle raised up. There's 2 ways to do an oil change. 2 schools of thought. Just like some people take the elevator, some people take the stairs, some people wear contacts, some people wear glasses. You can put an extraction device on the engine and suck the oil out. What we're going to be doing is a lift and drop. We're going to lift the vehicle up, we're going to drop the noise insulation on the bottom, pull the oil pan drain plug, and extract the oil old school style. The reason I prefer to do this approach is it gives us an opportunity to inspect underneath the engine for other possible leaks, catch problems early before they get to be severe. It'll also give us an opportunity to inspect the suspension system while we have the vehicle up. So let's go ahead and get the vehicle lifted and get started. All right, with the vehicle raised, we only need to remove this one noise panel. It's held in by 12 T25 fasteners. All right? These are just standard T25 type screws that are holding this noise panel. So this one I took out here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's your 12 fasteners. We're going to have to pull these, and we'll bring you back when we get all these pulled. All right, I like to leave either this one or this one as the 12th one that you remove, because it's in the center and it'll help hold the panel up until you're ready. Once you take that last one out, if you look here at the front, we slide the camera a little bit towards the front, it slips under this hard plastic piece here. So we just slide it back, and then we can lower it to the ground. And with this lower to the ground, there's our drain plug for the oil pan. So I'm going to go ahead and get a Torx to fit this, and then we can get a flashlight and we can start taking a look under here and see if there's any other issues while we let this drain out. All right, the drain plug is a T45. Lefty loosey. You want to do this step with the oil at operating temperature. So, it doesn't have to be hot enough to scald your hand, but you don't want it to be cold either. That's just going to help it come out. And again, like we were on top where we pulled the engine cover, cracking that fill plug cover, that fill cap rather, will just help the oil come out. So we're going to clean this drain plug off. We're going to let this drain off. And while it's draining, I'm going to show you some service information from the manual. All right, this is what I meant by leaving this cap cracked like this. All this dirt and debris that you may find around the rim, this is all going to have to be cleaned off. We'll get to that in a moment. Let me show you some service information here. All right, so if we take a look, and this will be for all the model years I put in the video title and description, Audi considers an oil change to be minor maintenance, and minor maintenance is done on these X intervals, 10, 30, and 50. So minor maintenance includes a number of things, but what we're interested in is the engine oil and oil filter getting changed, right? So there's the high-level view. There may be some additional items that you can check. I'll put a link in the video description where you can look up your own maintenance schedule for your particular vehicle by VIN. The other thing we're going to be interested in is what is the type of oil, right? So if that sticker was missing, the particular engine we're working on today is an engine code CWGD 2018 to 2021, 3 liter, 0W20, 7.7 quarts. And then just taking a look here, this is just echoing what we just did, the CWGD, VW508 double aught, 0W20, 7.3 liters or 7.7 quarts. This is the service information for removing the engine cover that I already showed you. The reason I'm showing you this is across the model years that the video is going to cover, there could be 2 different flavors of this engine cover, version 1 and version 2. The removal is the same technique though, but just so you can see there is a difference. When we get done, when we get done, I'll show you the torque values. Here's the noise cover that we removed. And again, 12 fasteners. We removed just the blue. The next one behind it would have been the one colored in green. And they're just going through some more detail about removing these fasteners. When we put this back together, this is an under view of the engine. Here's the lower oil pan. Part 21 and 22 are what we're concerned with. That's the oil drain plug, the T45, and the small aluminum crush washer. They tell you over here that that seal has to be removed has to be replaced if it's removed. And that oil drain plug, we're going to lightly oil the threads before we put it back in, and we're going to torque it to 30 Newton meters. I'm going to go ahead and show you this part even though we haven't done it yet. When we pull the cap, the 32 millimeter hex head plastic cap from the oil filter housing, we're going to need to replace this gasket, number 12, and this filter element, number 11. We're going to be replacing these with genuine OEM parts. I'll show you those when we get to it. The torque value part 13 is cast right into the plastic. I don't know if you can see it without the flashlight, but it's cast right in here as 25 Newton meters. But it also shows that in the service manual. Part 13, the cap, 25 Newton meters of clamping force. And that is it for the service information. So let's go back down and see if she's done draining. All right, it's just about done. We're just to the drips now. The sealing washer is still attached to the oil pan. So I need to pry that off. It's just held on by adhesion from being torqued on. Set that down here next to the drain plug that we already cleaned up. And then I'm just going to pop up here and clean up the oil around this. Now, we're not going to be able to get this all the way clean because it's still dripping, right? But we just want to get this cleaned enough so we can make sure that there's no damage to anything around this pan. So we're good. We'll clean this up again right before we put the plug on. We're just going to let it continue to drip while we talk here. So here's the part number on the replacement sealing washer that we're going to have to use, right? It's a Audi 138495. 138495. And like the service manual indicated, whenever you take this plug off, this part has to be replaced. And I'm going to drop that on our plug, and we're going to discard the other one. Put it in the recycling bin. Now, the other thing they indicated was they want you to put a little bit of oil on the threads. Just a little bit. And the only thing they want you to do that for is just with your finger. You put a little bit of oil in the threads. This is just so it goes in nice and easy when we tighten it back up. All right, I've let this drip for a while, so let's go ahead. It's going to keep dripping longer than I want to let it go. So we're going to go ahead and clean this up here and get this threaded in by hand. And then we're going to grab our torque wrench, and we're going to go ahead and torque this guy to the 30 Newton meters that were specified in the service information. And we're done. At this point, we'll just reverse the process of putting the noise insulation back into place. Just remember up near the front here, like I showed you, that you get it underneath, right in between this piece and this plastic piece. It slides in, it gets sandwiched in because this panel helps support that noise insulation. So let's get that reinstalled, and we'll come back after that's done. All right, with the noise panel back in, and there's no specific torque value for those T25s in the service manual, so just do them Guten tight, 2 fingers, 2-finger tight only. Let's go ahead and loosen up the oil filter cap here. I'm not going to take it off yet. What we're going to do first is we're going to clean this up before we forget. So I've pushed a clean rag down in the throat of this filler area so that none of this debris accidentally falls in. And we just want to get all of this crud off this lip. This is just normal grime that the vehicle picks up going down the road in between these service intervals. All right. And the reason we put the rag in like this is as we bring it out now, we can ensure that anything that might have fallen down, we've trapped. And with that done, we're going to do the same thing on the cap itself. This is not for cosmetics. We don't want any of this sand and dirt accidentally ending up inside the engine. If you're unsure about the cleanliness of the rag you've got, grab another. All right, now let's continue with the oil filter. So I'm just going to take some of our dirty rags from below. You don't want to have anything where there's going to be a lot of oil on them, but we just want enough so that if we get any drips, we catch it. Again, this is just cosmetic level concerns. And the filter should come out with the cap. And it just pops off like that. I'm going to sit this here for a moment and show you what we're replacing it with. Again, OEM, we're going to be using a Volkswagen Audi 06M 198405F. And what we'll find inside this box is a new gasket that goes around the housing, or the cap rather, and a new filter. Make sure it's stamped Volkswagen Automotive Group, and you can see the numbers are stamped in here. This particular one is made in France. All right. Now we're going to take this guy and we're going to put him in the box. We're going to put this guy in. One side has no writing, one side has writing. I like to put the side that has no writing snapped onto the cap. And then we're going to change out this little O-ring. And I'm going to need a little pick to get that off. And we're going to need another paper towel. So let me go grab that. All right, I like this particular tool with this kind of a shape, but anything that you feel you can get to go under this guy without gouging the plastic is fine. And then we're just going to put the new one on in its place. And the whole process of putting this on is sufficient lubrication that has gotten on it just from what it's picked up from the threads. All right, let's take these rags out of here. Get it threaded back on by hand. And as we thread it around, I want to get any oil that we spilt or stained up on this guy just from this process. Actually, let's go ahead and grab our torque wrench and set this guy to 25 Newton meters. We're done. Now we're going to reinstall the cover. All right, before we put this cover back on, same as we did with the cap area, we want to get all this dirt off of that so it doesn't fall inside. And we're going to line these bushings back up. Get all four of them popped in, and now we're ready to add the oil. All right, we're going to get a funnel to make sure it goes where we want. And then, like I mentioned, since this vehicle is still under warranty, we're going to be using the factory branded 0W20 oil here. This particular oil's got kind of a olive drab green tint to it. So the service manual says this engine holds 7.7 quarts. What we're going to end up adding is 6.5, and then we're going to lower it, and then we're going to add the rest using the electronic dipstick. So I'm going to get this down to the first 6, and I'll bring you back. All right, we're putting in half of quart number 7 here, and then we're going to back it down, get it level, and we'll see what our electronic dipstick has to say. When we start it up, it'll fill the void where the oil filter housing is, and that'll give us an accurate reading. Okay. All right, so we're going to have to wait a couple of minutes for it to register the level, and as soon as it registers the level, we can top it off. All right, 2 minutes is up. The engine's still warm enough, so now it's reading. We expect it to read low. I'm going to add the rest of that quart that we did half on. That'll bring us up to an even 7 quarts, and then we'll see how we fine-tune it from there. All right, at 7 quarts even, we're just a little bit shy of the middle range of that. Let's go ahead and start adding from our 8th quart. And I'm going to add 8 ounces. And we're going to see if it's going to pick that up in real time. There it goes, and our oil level is okay. So we added exactly 7 quarts plus 1/4 of an 8th quart, and we got it into the okay range. Now we could put a few more ounces in here, another 4 ounces or so. In fact, I think that's what I'm going to do to bring this last quart to an even 1/2. I'm going to go ahead and do that. We're going to come back and I'll show you how to reset the oil change indicator. All right, we're done with this. You can see that's all spotlessly clean in there. We've got this cap all clean. We've got this in the correct orientation. And like I mentioned, we end up with just at a half on the 8th quart of the 8 that we purchased. Let's go inside and reset the indicator now. All right, so there's the oil level we're going to leave it at. That's what is exactly 7.5 quarts. So now let's go back. Let's go to service intervals. Let's reset the oil change interval. And now we're all good to go for the next 9,400 miles that it'll trigger again. I hope you guys found this video useful and taught you how to do your own oil change on your Audi SQ5 with the 3-liter turbo. If you got questions or comments, go ahead and leave them below and I'll try to help. If this did help you save some money and do it yourself, go ahead and hit that like button. I'd really appreciate you paying it forward that way. And as always, thanks for watching.